Hi there, my name's Kevin, and in this week's video, I'm going to explore how to design a website with Photoshop, so stick around. Okay, so I'm really excited about the video this week, guys. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. If you have been following along, you'll probably notice that most of my videos have been about development and the coding side of things, and not so much on the design side of things very much. So this is a big deal for me because I am a designer and I teach mostly design. The program I teach is computer graphics, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, a whole bunch of stuff. There is some coding and stuff in there, but the main reason I started this channel was I love coding. I enjoy coding. I only really teach the entry-level stuff, and I wanted to be able to give myself an excuse to push the boundaries more. And I thought, what better way than to make videos so it really forces me to keep pushing and keep learning, and it's a lot of fun. But I'm still a designer at heart. I worked in the print industry for 5 years before I did any web stuff whatsoever. Design for me is something that is really important, and I started this channel. The slogan type thing I came up with was, let's learn how to build the web and how to make it look good while we're at it. And I haven't been talking enough about how to make it look good while we're at it. I think it's really important that the web looks good. It should be functional. Function is number one, but if it doesn't look good, people aren't going to get to enjoy that function because they'll go, well, that's ugly and they'll leave. We don't want that to happen. So I want to introduce you to how I design websites, my thought process going into it. The whole thing was going to be really long. I sped the whole thing up to 300% the actual speed, and I narrated on top of it. When I did my original narration, what I found was I wasn't really explaining my thought process. I was just explaining what I was doing. What I want to get across with this video is the thought process I'm putting behind things. Why am I doing that? Why am I putting space up there? Why am I putting a button there? Why am I leaving padding? Why am I overlapping things the way I am? Whatever it is. I am using Photoshop in this. I am on a PC, as you probably know if you've watched my other videos, so Sketch isn't available, and I know Sketch is the big trendy thing. There's also Adobe XD, and sadly the PC version is still behind the Mac version. I've played around with it a bit. I'm not super comfortable with it. I want to learn it more, but I keep getting frustrated, and then I see things you can do, but I can't do it. Maybe they've updated it since I last tried it, I'm not sure, but for now, I'm still using Photoshop. So yeah, before I even get into Photoshop though, and part I'm not really gonna get into too much detail with, it's one thing my students in class don't like very much, and that's the design process a little bit. So you know, this type of stuff, drawing out your thumbnails or your wireframes or whatever you wanna call them. People don't like doing that, but it's important. So this here, I'll just hold it up a little closer, is some ideas that I had along the way, just some things I was doing. I did a bit of that. And then I sort of had some ideas and actually got out my book. I have a little book that, if you look, can you get it? The exposure is really high in my camera. It has those little dots, so it just makes it easier to follow a grid. I don't like using a ruler or stuff like that. So this one is the site that we're going to be doing. So it's going to be for a band, like a music site type of thing. So I just sketched out sort of the rough layout that I want to be following here. So there's the main, just typical header hero section here. We're going to have this about section where it's going to have a nice picture, and then here is going to be some text, and then these three are the band members. So I think that's going to be cool that they're sort of overlapping a little bit. We'll have a music section here with the albums, another button where you can, I guess, get to buy the music. This is upcoming shows right there, and then just a simple footer down at the bottom. And I did do a mobile version here just to give myself an idea of how I want it to sort of transition from one to the other, because I'm not actually going to design this in Photoshop. My Photoshop's design is always the most complicated one, and if I had a client that really wanted to see all this, sure, then we could do this, but I'm just designing this, and then I know how it's going to break once I start doing it. The other thing is I'm going to be building this site after we design it in Bootstrap. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of people requesting sites for Bootstrap, but enough of that. You don't want to hear me talk about this anymore. You want to see me designing because that's what you came here for. Let's just jump into it and look at how I do all of this in Photoshop. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and as you can see, I am using a template for this. I got the template from Hacker Themes. I'm going to include the link in the description below. It has all the different sizes, extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large. There is an extra small now with Bootstrap. But anyway, I'm only going to be using this big one. I'm turning off all the other layers because I don't want to be designing on those. I only want to be designing on this one here. I like having these types of templates just where I have an overlay. I can see the columns really easily. Here, just to show you, I have already picked out my pictures that I'm going to be using, and I've already picked out a bit of a color theme, mostly focusing on the dark because I want this to be a dark website. I'm doing like a rock band, it's, music and all of that. So I was thinking red, it's sort of an aggressive-ish color, plus just those dark colors. It makes me think more of the style that, it's the first things that sort of came to my mind. So here I'm just putting in my nav bar. I was having some trouble with the color. Oh, and just really fast, I'm changing here the proof setup. Just make sure if you have this set up the same way I'm setting it up, you want to have the proof colors on. If you choose a color and the colors look faded, just make sure that your proof is on and that your proof setup is to monitor RGB. The fonts I'm using are two different fonts that I've picked from Typekit. So I picked this one just because it looked sort of grungy and bandy and rock band style. So I like that one. It's called Banshee. And the other one I'm using is Mr. Eves. It's just a really nice, clean font. With the one kind of weird font that I'm going with, I wanted something really clean, something really easy to read that would be for most of my text. Kind of a neutral font that just looks nice, and with the other one getting the style across more. So right now all I'm doing is playing around with the font sizes a little bit just to try and make it look good. I wasn't super happy with how it was looking at the moment, but I do come back and revisit this shortly just because there's something going on. I was trying the all caps, making it bolder, less bold. It wasn't quite working, but I said, good enough for now. I made my group, called it navigation, put it underneath, organizing my layers nice and properly. I like changing the color of my layers just to keep organized. And now I'm putting in my main background color that I started with this really dark one, but I ended up changing it a little bit because I didn't like the purplishness of it. Once I started working with my imagery, I really wanted to go with this red and blackish type of thing. I find a lot of the time when I do pick my colors, it's, especially at the beginning, I have the ideas of the colors I want, but they do end up changing over time. Don't be scared. You come up with some colors, you like your colors, you can go through and change them after. There's nothing wrong with that. Right now, as you can see up above, I didn't like what my nav bar was looking like. I changed it. I liked it a lot more once I switched those colors to the new colors I found. Now all I'm trying to do is just set up my hero image. I believe I'm going to make it black and white. There we go. Because I didn't want the colors coming through. And I just wanted a nice, simple image that I could use, something that doesn't stand out too much. I'm going to fade it away a little bit. And the idea here is just it gives you the feel. It has the band atmosphere. It has the band feeling to it. It's going to be a nice visual, but the text on top of it is what's going to stand out more. So I was just trying to fade this away a little bit, make it more of a background image, something that isn't as noticeable. So, and then I'm going to plug my text on top. I'm going to I'm going to organize my layers, and then I'm going to bring the text on top. When I'm dealing with my text, a lot of time I'm just going to copy a layer over like I did there and then reorganize. I really wanted to use this font as the one that stands out, as I mentioned before. So it's going to be, whenever I use this, except in the logo-y area, it's going to be big. It's going to be in your face a little bit, just like the music. It's rock music. It's more aggressive. It's in your face, all of that. So I wanted that to be coming across through the font and through the style of what that's doing. And I was just looking for a music lorem ipsum generator. I put rock ipsum and it came up with the rock. So then anyway, we end up finding one. I got a Metallica, so it's just some random Metallica lyrics into lorem ipsum, just to give myself some text to play with. This text, especially in the hero area, should be easy to read. The person sees the image or the main hero area here. They see the text should grab their attention, and then not a lot of text, just a little bit of text. They're going to read it right away. They know if they're sticking around or not. And then a button like you usually see that's just going to be getting them to go a little bit further down on the site. The main thing here is what's the person going to do? We've got them. If we have their attention, they're going to skim through that text and hopefully they're going to click listen to our music. I'm assuming what they're here for. So I'm just trying to organize my layers once again. Every now and then we take a little bit of a pause as I reorganize my layers. It's important that you try and organize your layers as much as possible if you are, whatever software you're using, really. Especially with websites. If you're designing a website, it's really easy for the layers to quickly get out of control. With this now, I'm coming into that area where I wanted the two columns, like 50% each. One of them is going to be a big picture. The other one's going to be the text. And as I'm doing most of the time, I want to get big images. I want things that really do grab the attention. I'm going to put the title on top of this after too. So this big image should be grabbing your attention. It should be attracting you to that. And then it's going to say the about. So your eyes sort of is brought to that area. And then if you are interested in it, your eyes will sort of glance over to the text after. I'm really trying to lead the person's. I wasn't happy with my first picture, so I switched it out for this one. But yeah, I'm trying to lead the person's eye. So the eye is going to come down if they're scrolling down from the top. As soon as they get here, their eye is immediately going to go to the image. No matter what I try, they're not going to read the text right away. But then if that gets their attention, they will then look over at the text. So you do want to be thinking about these things as you're designing things. How are you getting them to look at the next sections of your website? Is there something that is grabbing their attention? Is there something that they should be looking at? What's going to lead them from this section into the next section to keep them scrolling? You want them to stay on the website. And now I'm just sort of taking the time to organize it properly, looking at the grid that I had. Yeah, so just how are you leading them? So that's the idea with this next part that I'm going to do in a second too. I'm going to bring in my three artists, so we're going to see that in a second here. Once I once again organize my layers here. So yeah, don't have much to say at the moment. Here we go. So as I'm just going to build one of them, I think, and then I end up just copying it over. So the idea here is I want these to overlap just a little bit with the about section, because it is a continuation of the about section, really. So I have my about section, and then it's going to be the three band members. And, there could be more, but in this case, I'm doing three band members. So because they're overlapping a little bit, it is pulling the person from that about section down into the next section. Or that's what I would hope that would happen anyway. So they see the about section, even if they don't end up reading it, even if they just got to that picture, then they see this overlapping thing. There's going to be three pictures there that might pull them down into the next section. I also want to put a bit of emphasis here on my text once again. Trying the colors, the red, I was going to use the red, and I was trying that other font, but it really didn't work. So I switched that back out. And then I just started playing around with it a little bit, looking at the font weights, font sizes, things like that. I was going to go with the red, but I found that the red didn't stand out enough, and the white, the lead singer part, even though it's smaller, stood out to me more because it's higher contrast. The white and black is higher contrast than the red and black. And be careful when you're using red and black. It's actually a harder one to use than I thought I changed it. Maybe I left it red. Now that I'm looking at it, I will change that to white if I don't end up changing that after. I find I don't like it too much right now, looking at it. So yeah, these three pictures will help lead me in. I'm just trying to find a good picture to be using for my drummer. And so now is just the fun part of just trying to organize my layers properly again. And name my layers properly and all of that. And again, I can't emphasize that enough. You want to be doing that as much as possible. I think now, if I remember, yeah, I'm going to play with the color of those. I want to make those darker. There we go. I knew that the white was standing out way too much. So I just I made them a little bit of a light gray instead, just so they're not popping off in the same way that they were popping off before. My artboard wasn't big enough, so I'm just dragging that down to give myself some more room to work with. And now we're going to get into this next thing. Now what I want to do here, and again, I'm thinking about how I can lead the person into the next thing. So I'm going to have this music section here, which is going to be the albums. Actually, before I talk about that, I think I play with the font sizes now a little bit. Or maybe I do that after. Let's see. I'm just trying to, once again, organize everything properly. Yeah. Yeah. Now, yeah. So I'm looking at the font size and that's way too big. The R music is just massive. I found it much too big. Oh, I didn't do it yet. I'll get there in a second, I guess. These albums, I don't actually do the albums now. I come back and I don't do them in the design. I didn't want to just start randomly designing album covers while you guys were watching this. It was sort of a waste of time. This is more focused on the design of it, not on album covers. So I'm going to find some images and throw them in there, design something really quick before we actually start coding this out. So this was just a little placeholder. That's where the albums will be. And yeah, I just wanted to see that will be 6 albums that are there. So let's see what I do next. Just did this too, and I don't remember everything I did. I don't even remember what I'm looking at. I guess I'm just organizing layers again. The way I work is terrible for layer organization. Oh, I'm bringing the button down. Okay. I'm really bad at, well, I'm not bad at, I keep my layers organized, but I just find the way I work leads me to be like reordering my layers constantly before I group it, and then it's set and I'm happy with it and I don't touch it again. But just things get mixed up a lot and then I have to go through and fix everything up. It's a bit of a pain in the butt. But it's just the way I work. And this artboard was never big enough. I keep having to make it bigger all the time. So let's see. Okay, yeah, now what I wanted to do, this image is going to act as a parallax image. I want to bring a parallax image as a background image here. And again, it's just something to try and connect one section into the next section a little bit. So that about section, we have those 3 pictures that you'll see. Then there's this backgroundy image that's going to be a little bit of out of focus. It's going to be parallax, so it's going to scroll at a different rate, but it's connecting the person into the next section of the site. I'm all for like these big banded sections. It's really trendy right now where you just have like a big like one color background, then you have the next bar and it's another color. There's nothing wrong with that. They work really well. But I really wanted to put a lot of emphasis on this site, on just like things melding from one section into another, trying to make it a bit more organic instead of just like, here's one section, here's another section, here's another section. I wanted them to flow a little bit more in one to the next. So this parallaxy type background image, my idea there is, again, it just keeps the person moving down the site. It keeps them looking at the site. Hopefully, the whole idea here is that they keep going. So now we're coming up, upcoming shows, or maybe it's now I decide the font sizes were too big. That's possible. Yes, it is. So now I'm just starting to play with the font sizes. I want to keep that one big font size all the way at the top the same. I like that one. But these other ones here, I wanted to make them a bit smaller. I just found it was way over the top. So I didn't make them a lot smaller. I am making them all the same. I want them all to be the same size because of how I'm going to be doing it. They're all in equal heading. Whatever they say, I make it an H2 or something like that. I want them all to be the same. They were just way too big. And obviously with media queries and stuff, they're going to have to get smaller at other screen sizes too, but that's, I'm not worrying about that. I'm just worrying about the big screen size for now. Here's the upcoming shows I'm doing. So I'm going to do like, I want to play with since I'm doing this with Bootstrap, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing it with Bootstrap 4, I want to play with the card system they have. They have like this image overlay type thing. So that was sort of why I'm designing this the way I am, where it's going to be an image with all the information for the show on top of it. Yeah, so I think this would be kind of fun to do. It's a nice way, again, I like having images in it. Images catch the eye more than text generally does, even though you want the people reading the text. So it isn't really important. I've seen a site, I don't remember what site it was on. I was on a site today for a big company. Oh, I wish I could remember what it was, but it doesn't matter. They had a background image with text on it, and I couldn't read half of the text. I had to highlight it to read it. If you are going to be putting images in, most images don't work well as background images. You got to darken or lighten the image or something. Here I'm just grabbing some Font Awesome stuff to put in. I know Font Awesome isn't incorporated into Bootstrap 4. It wasn't part of 3. They took it out for 4, but you can still use it, of course. So I want to use that just for these little icons here. I think they'll look good. and it's just to set the date and all that. But again, the imagery is what gets attention, but don't let the imagery rule your site. The imagery can't rule a site. It has to be the text that's most important, because the text is what actually has the information. The imagery and the visuals and the colors are what get people to stick on the site and to keep going. But if you can't read what's actually on there, you're not going to actually stay on the site. It needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, it needs to be really obvious what's actually going on. So, and if you can't read the text, then people are gone. So the text is king all the time. And it's one thing that I find people forget a lot. They make these really wicked designs and the text is sort of ignored. So the detail that you put into the text, and just here are my music festivals in bold, and then the slightly smaller font size and a normal, it's not bold anymore for the Montreal location thing, just because I want, the music festival is, what's the music, what's the concert, and then where is the concert. It's just, you're creating a bit of a visual hierarchy, which is really important, and it just breaks it up. People can see it's two different pieces of information right away. And the font size between those is actually a little different. I think I did 24 and 21 or something like that. So it is important to make these things to break up the text. You need to, if it's two different pieces of information, either spread them out a little bit, change the font size a little bit, change the font weight a little bit, things like that to make it clear that it's two different pieces of information. And that's really important because people forget to do that all the time. And it makes it harder to read the site. The attention to detail really needs to be put into the text. I can't stress that enough. And now we're getting into the footer. That's pretty much the design done. We got to the shows. People have scrolled all the way down. Maybe I should have put the upcoming shows higher. Well, if they're interested in the band, they like their music, then they'll be looking at the shows. That makes sense, right? So here I'm just putting a super simple footer. I hate designing footers, especially for mock-up, or not mock-up, but generico sites like this where I don't actually have content and other pages and all of that and stuff to put in the footer. I'm just putting a copyright thing here, and I'm going to put in the social links. I was originally going to do icons for these, but I thought it would be nice. It's just a nice clean way to finish off the site just by having them as text links. And I'm just putting this grayed out little / between them as a separator, because it stood out way too much before that. So, lowered it, making it a lot less contrast. Anyway, that's it. There we go. That is everything. I hope you like it. And we're going to start coding this up very soon. Next week, we're going to be looking at how we can code this. One last touch here I did. I wasn't happy with my colors, so I came and revisited this hero section. So I was looking for a gradient, UI gradients. I'll put the link to that down below. I love UI gradients. So I just wanted to come in here and throw a gradient in to I have all these really nice colors through the rest of the site. What I wanted up here, which looked good at the beginning, but now that all those images have these cool colors in it, it wasn't looking so hot. So I wanted something that would just bring in a bit more of an interesting look and visual here. So I'm just going crazy with the blending modes. This one I thought looked cool. The colors go really well in contrast with the red, and they are found in other parts of the site too. So, it's what do you call it? Complementary colors, pretty much, the red and the colors I'm using there. So I thought it looked good. I wasn't super happy with it, so I was playing with this red a little bit to try and get it to blend in a little better. I think I just end up fading things out a little bit instead, is I believe what I end up doing. Let's see in a second. Oh, and I'd lost that button. I don't know what I did with that button. I think at one point I thought I was copying it, but I just dragged it down somewhere else instead, so I had to make my button again. And yeah, with that button there, it sort of balances everything out a little bit better than what I had before, and I was really happy with it. I think it looks really nice. I hope you think it looks good too. Let me know what you think of the design and all of that. I'd really like to know what you think of this, so please let me know down in the comments below what you think of the overall design. And there's the design. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked it. If you did like it, please hit the like button below. If you haven't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button, because then you can see how I end up coding this up next week, and new videos every single Wednesday, plus other stuff that will get thrown in along the way too. I seem to be doing that more and more these days. Again, thank you for watching, and until next time, take it easy.